Hey Laura, okay, on to part two. The thing I forgot to mention, I was just looking at his chart while I was loading up part one. The other thing to consider is with his south node, he's got a south node up in Aquarius, at 9 and 10 of Aquarius, and Venus is conjunct his south node. When I was kind of looking at just following the rulers around his chart, the ruler of his south node is Uranus, and that's over in the 7th, ruled by Jupiter, which we have down in the 5th, conjunct Saturn. And I'll make this make sense just a second. I just have to go through these verbally. And then that's ruled by Venus, which is up in the 10th. It almost feels like he was maybe in a past incarnation, he may have been someone who was attractive, was someone who was like perhaps desirable on a collective level of some kind, or he could have been someone who was like a bachelor, like didn't get married, even that past incarnation of that Venus Aquarius. He may have found himself married to a cause of some kind that might have been his kind of his focus. And the South Node being up in the 10th, the other thing to consider is when we look at his moon, which is opposite his South Node, that says that there was something, any planet opposite your South Node is something, a person that you couldn't overcome in that life. And a moon in Leo can be having come from a very powerful family, or having had a mother who was very proud of us and kind of perhaps even spoiled us, and in a sense, like, spoiled the child. And she could have even, it could have been something where, like I said, it could have been a familial, like the clan was well known by the community, being ruled by a Sun conjunct Mercury. They may have had a name that everybody knew, and he may have felt like he wanted to break free from that, from those ties that he may have felt bound by. So his chart has this quality of trying to break away from his foundations to a certain extent. And yours, on the other hand, we have the moon kind of hanging out over in the 12th house, and sort of the opposite issue, the wanting to come together, the wanting to create security and closeness with another person. And so, at any rate, I just thought I would mention that. Now, when we look also at his chart, he's got Chiron squaring his nodes. So Chiron, that's there in the 12th. Again, it's Chiron and Taurus. So it could have, been a past life themes of. Chiron is about duty and service, and our obligations we have to others. In the 12th house, it may in this life be a little bit absent. So he may have had to, in a past life, he may have felt like he had to sort of perpetuate his family's wishes, play a part for his family. He may have wanted to rebel against that as well, though he may have believed in something that was more modern, and maybe his family's very conservative, or but well established. And so there's kind of a quality here of him having had to make a departure, I suppose. So, and Uranus also here in the 7th makes a little sextile to his South Node, meaning there was a person in his life, in a past life, or a situation, an attitude towards relationship that helped him on his journey. So with it being Uranus, that would either it's a rebellious person, or maybe a free thinker, a woman maybe who didn't want to get married, or if he was female, a man who didn't want to get married, or he himself had married himself to a cause, and so he was sort of disassociated from relationship. So there's that as well. The composite chart between the two of you, we have a Sun at the 20th degree of Pisces, conjunct Mercury exactly, and we have a South Node that is at 6 degrees of Aries. And all, these are in the 10th house. And Venus is over on the other side at 11 degrees of Aries. Look at something here. Not seeing any sort of exact conjunctions here. If you're dating someone and you feel like this is a person who's like a soulmate, you're for sure going to see, it's been my experience anyway, like conjunctions, at least with the nodes, or squares with the nodes. You're going to see, them being activated. Your South Node at 1 and 2 of Gemini is squared by his Mars in Pisces. Then your South Node falls in his first house. And your Marses fall next to each other. So there may be a quality here of you guys in this life having a strong sort of physical connection to each other, being physically attracted to each other. Just coming back over here to this other chart. Hold on one sec. Having to kind of look back and forth. Your Jupiter's at 7 of Aries as well. So your Jupiter kind of falls conjunct the South Node of the relationship chart. And perhaps, Jupiter would be someone who's a benefactor of some kind, someone who's here to help, to assist. And Jupiter in Aries, it could also be someone who, where we overdo things together in a past life. And that's ruled by a Mars and Pisces in the 9th. So perhaps, if you think that this is someone you have the South Node with anybody on the planet. So, you'd have to feel like this feels right. But if you feel like this is a person that maybe you have a connection with, then it's possible. The South Node at 6 degrees, let's see what this one talks about here. One sec while I pull it up. Okay, this one is a double-headed eagle that faces face in opposite directions. Okay, so that immediately, that's weird because I was just looked at that for the first time. I was thinking initially when looking at his chart felt like that of someone who was like totally married to his cause, which was like as a revolutionary of some kind, even willing to die, like to die for his cause. And so, double-headed eagle, that does make me think of many European crests that have the double-headed eagle as their symbol. So with Uranus, maybe his family came from a family that was not a royal family, but maybe a wealthy, prominent, politically involved family. And he was maybe perhaps a revolutionary that was trying to, as a modern, break away from the traditions, and could have been like a political revolutionary in a past life. So, again, this is a person who probably has fairly fixed opinions about life and about who he is and about how he wants to live his life and what he thinks makes sense for him. So when I say the relationship in Pisces, conjunct Mercury, the Pisces quality it almost feels like, it's both of your Marses are in Pisces, but like, I feel like I see it a lot in relationships that are projections, that are relationships that don't end up being manifested. Now, this is not always the case, because that would mean anybody who is Aries with any Aquarius, has a Pisces relationship, like that they wouldn't get together. But it's just, it could be that you guys have soul connection for sure. Could be that this is a do-over with it conjunct Mercury. But it could also just be two people who meet each other and start dating and are attracted to each other, but it's a relationship that doesn't end up formalizing itself. Now, the fact that it's in the 10th house means it would be a relationship that would be seen or known of by people. But with it being Pisces, there could be this quality of it being nebulous, of people being unsure exactly why the two of you had come together, or if you indeed were actually together. I feel like that it's being ruled by Neptune down in the 6th. So there's that, yet again, that theme of perhaps someone sacrificing and someone else taking. So, it's something to bear in mind. The moon of the relationship is in Leo. It's in the 2nd house. And moon and Leo relationships need a lot of attention emotionally, because you're dealing with two different people's emotional sort of needs. And it's like that moon in Leo being ruled by the sun in Pisces, conjunct Mercury. So it feels a bit like, the other thing about the sun being in Pisces, it can be the man disappearing, or the man not being dependable. Or it can be us projecting on to the partner of the man what it is we want him to be. With the moon being here in Leo, it is making a nice trine. It would be your kind of the moon in the 2nd house of Taurus. So the desire for security, the desire for you to receive the validation that you need to feel, loved and safe and all that good stuff, would be sort of indicated. I can see the moon makes nice aspects to your Jupiter, for example. It's like a 2-degree moon. It squares his MC. The moon, or it opposes it, sorry. It opposes his MC. And the moon of the relationship is in is in his 3rd house. So again, my concern would be that there's perhaps more than one woman in the situation, more than one mother is what it feels like to me. Again, I think you're going to be dealing with someone who his mothering needs are going to like always subtly be there. It's just kind of like always subtly under the surface, him needing his emotional needs being validated or recognized, it being about him. I mean, Aquarians can be kind of selfish. And I have, like I said, I have a good friend who's an Aquarius with the Leo moon, and she's a super cool, dynamic, amazing, creative person, but she's very self-absorbed, and it just is what it is. And, always posting pictures of herself on social media. Like, her business is basically a vehicle just for her to post pictures of herself. You know what I mean? Kind of. So, yeah, it's like I'm inspiring people with my photographs. So there can be that quality. There can be the cult of personality thing, the desire to be important and to be unique. And so if he doesn't feel like that's being validated, then there can be little temper tantrums and stuff. So, okay, now I'm feeling like both partners, I don't know, your moon that's in Cancer in the 12th is more apt to be kind of giving, but at the same time, it's still a Cancer moon. It's still one that has a strong need for reciprocity, a strong need for a partner to give us a sense of security, and a partner that's not going to be like wandering off on us, But at the same time, you've got Venus in Gemini, you've got Mars in Pisces, so you also, at the same time, when you're investigating these relationships, you're also going to have sort of your eyeball on other possibilities. And these dynamics mean you may, with your partner, project onto him. You may assume he's kind of maybe doing the same thing, which can lead to feeling unsure and insecure about the nature of the relationship, which then can lead to reacting in an emotional way, whether it's withdrawing, whether it's being passive-aggressive, whether it's cheating or going and spending time with other people, whether it's just being dependent and being like worried and needy. It just, to me, I don't really love the moon connections. I mean, the Leo Cancer thing can work, but because of house placement, it makes me a little bit more worried that you guys each separately kind of need a partner that's more grounded or more like doesn't have as many emotional sort of unconscious needs, if that makes any sense. The placements of moons and water houses mean we're sensitive, we feel things. Doesn't mean we're compassionate necessarily, can. It just means that emotionally we absorb things and feel them from other people. And if we are feeling things that's kind of unconscious, and we're not owning what we're feeling, we're repressing it, which is what he may do, is repress his emotions, his needs for intimacy, that kind of thing. Then it comes out in self-sabotaging behavior, basically. So, okay, now the relationship chart, back to it. This is the composite. So in the 10th, the Sun, Mercury, both in Pisces, at 28 degrees. I'll look and see if that's making any aspects. Kind of sextiles his ascendant and trines his descendant, and it falls in his 11th house. I mean, I like that for a relationship between two people that are friends. That, it's kind of activating his 11th house, which is it is his Aquarius house, which is where his Venus is, but it might be one where he sees it as like a friendship with benefits kind of a thing. The moon of the relationship falls down in his 3rd house, which we mentioned already. So I don't really like those two placements. I'm just shooting it straight to you. You choose what you think's best for you. I could be totally wrong. This guy could, could be different. But everything I'm seeing would sort of suggest that your needs are a little bit different. And I'm not sure if you guys will be good at satisfying each other's needs. Emotional needs, that is. When we look at, looking at the Davison really quickly just to see. Okay, I'm not going to jump there quite yet. Okay, so let's look at Venus and Mars. So Venus in the relationship chart is in Aries. And you see that in the charts of people when they can jump into things quickly. It's a strong sexual vibe to it. It's like ripping your clothes off. It's really sexy and passionate energy. So in a relationship chart, it can be one where it's a quick, like have a physical chemistry with one another. And that Venus makes a sextile to his Venus, and makes a little minor aspect to his Mars. Just looking at your, and for you it kind of sextiles your Venus as well. So feels like it could be kind of hot pretty quickly, but it's ruled by a Mars in Pisces in the 9th. And that, to me, is, it might be based on illusion. And Mars in Pisces for a relationship chart, even though you guys both have Mars in Pisces, you know, ideally, if I had a Mars in Pisces, I would want someone with a Mars in a different water sign, perhaps, because who's going to make the first move, you know? That's the problem. Mars in Pisces, sometimes yours is in the Scorpio house, so you're more apt to be the one who's going to actively pursue or strategize somehow, you know, to getting together with the partner. His Mars is in Pisces is in the 10th. You know, that's an assertive placement, but he may, I don't know, he may put that energy, it's more, to me it feels like it has more to do with career and how he establishes his reputation, and he may be thought of someone who is a little bit, might be kind of cantankerous at times. Mars and Pisces, I mean, he may be someone who's a little bit of an escapist, or someone who also blames other people, you know. Could be a little victim mentality, actually. With that Mars and Pisces squaring Uranus in the 7th, he may blame other people for his own stuff, which I would imagine might be kind of annoying. Looking at the, let's see, in the Davison, we have Mars in Cancer. So that's good, that's better. 23 degrees of Cancer. So that way, at least both of your Pisces Mars, it's, you know, making aspects to it. It's not with an orb, but point being, Mars and Cancer relationships, here's the thing, it's going to be ruled by the Moon in Leo, which means both of your egos, and whether, it just feels like you guys are going to come to stalemates. You know, it feels like emotionally, your emotional needs on both ends, you're going to be more of the actively, he'll know that you're needing him, okay? You're going to be giving to him with the hopes of being reciprocated. He is going to be needing also that sort of affection, but maybe more apt to hide his need for the affection, or to do things that kind of throw you off, where he, you know, he doesn't want to be seen as vulnerable. Intimacy might be kind of scary for him, that kind of thing. And so therefore the two emotional needs between the two people can kind of clash with each other, right? And then that's a composite or a Davison Moon and Leo in the 2nd house. It's just, we have different needs, and nothing's going to change. I mean, the 2nd house is like, it is what it is. We both want to feel safe and secure. We both want our egos to feel validated. We both want to feel special. So who's going to be the one doing the parenting while the other one's feeling special? You know, that'll be the issue. And when it's ruled by Pisces up in the 10th, it's most likely he'll be the one, the man, you know, kind of maybe getting his needs met. But it feels like it's kind of based on illusion. It's lacking the depth I would like to see, I guess, is kind of how I'm feeling about this combination. Great for creative projects. I don't know if you guys have had any of those experiences together. Great for work, great for working together and collaborating together in some way that might be creative. When we look at the Venus, talk about that a bit. And with this heart and soul reading, it's a shorter one. We don't, you know, go into all of the aspects. Obviously, I'm kind of just triaging here. The North Node being in Libra in the 4th. So a North Node in Libra is, you know, a partnership, two people that are coming together. They're generationally two people who have experienced Aries South Nodes. So there's just everybody your same age, you know, we all have Aries South Nodes. And the North Node being in Libra in the 4th sort of says we're here to focus on our emotional needs. So then we look at the moons, and you have two people that have very different moons and you know, different moon needs. And then you have the relationship chart having a Leo moon, which means his moon, his emotional needs will be the highlight. It'll be about him. It'll be about him getting his needs met. And you're an Aries and with a Cancer moon. So that's going to work for a little while, but then it's not going to work anymore. Because you're going to get your feelings hurt, and also you're going to be like, well, what about me? I'm taking care of all of your stuff, but you're like being so selfish and not like at all giving back to me. That type of thing will come out. So again, there'll be a quality of who's going to be doing the caretaking or the validating, or the, oh, you're so amazing, or you're so special, oh, you're so la la la, when we both, to a certain extent, need that. And that's any relationship. That's normal. So, yeah. The moon being in Leo, see, it sextiles the Ceres in Gemini. So that's the relationship itself hungers for words of validation, of emotional validation. And that's also making a sextile over to the South Node. You've got a little trine from the moon to the South Node. So, I mean, I'm not getting any strong, like, indications necessarily that this was like a past life that you shared together with this person. I wouldn't want to say that unless you yourself said, this feels like someone that I have a soul connection to. And if you think that, then I'm happy to sort of look into it more deeply. I know because you waited so long to get this, I wanted to offer you something, because you have come back for a lot of readings. And so and I know you're dating and you're kind of trying to find your partner, if you've got someone else that you've been dating, I'm happy to do like a quick read too for you, just to sort of say thanks and as a way of trying to fix the fact that I screwed up. So just you let me know if you'd like me even just to look at your chart with some forecasting or something. I'm happy to do that. And I'm curious about this relationship. If this hasn't manifested itself, if you guys aren't seeing each other anymore, I wouldn't really be surprised. Not to scare you if you are together, but just it's the Piscean stuff. There's some basic fundamental compatibility differences that in my mind I would imagine, even if you are still seeing each other, there's going to be, this would be a relationship that would require quite a bit of work on both of your behalfs. And I think with his moon placement in particular, I kind of feel like he is going to do a relationship if it works for him, If not, he won't. He'll just continue sort of just doing his own thing. And with your chart's got that quality of like, you're looking for the partner, you're looking for that safe space, that person that will give you the grounding and this sense of, oh, I'm safe now, I can exhale. That's not his chart at all. Like, I mean, he may be someone with a loaded 10th house. You can be really ambitious, and you can be someone who is successful even, and it may have kind of a Capricorn feel to it. But in Aquarius, it's so independent that we'd have to see his moon being, let's see, just want to look at this really quick. His moon being really activated by planets in your chart. I would want to see like exact aspects, and we don't really have that. We have some wide aspects, some wide trines. We have your Neptune and your Jupiter basically trining his Leo moon. It looks like actually, your Neptune, that's nice. It's actually not bad. But okay, Jupiter, Neptune, that is you being the benefactor. That would be you giving to him, like taking care of him, loving him, mothering him or coddling him, which is great, sure. But you're an Aries, and at the end of the day, you're an Aries with a moon in Cancer, and that is a sign that's subjective, that needs its personal needs met as well. So that'll only work for so long, and your Mars in Pisces will eventually you'll get bitter, you'll get resentful if it's not being reciprocated. And Mars and Pisces individuals can be victim-y, and then they can act out and react and retaliate in ways that are sort of passive-aggressive. With it in conjunct Pluto, if you feel sort of disempowered by this relationship, if you have with the Pluto in the third house, like a sense, if you think you've like checked on him on social media and you're feeling worried or jealous or whatever, and you try to manipulate him in some way, I mean, he'll just he'll deflect it and he'll deny and he'll go away. I mean, an Aquarius can't be manipulated. You can't try and control an Aquarius. And if it's even just you being sweet to him, but being giving too much, he'll start to feel suffocated. So there's that as well. So just want to look really quickly at I know the formation in his chart. I've dated someone who has this exact same kind of formation, but it's in Aries at the top, basically. His chart's very similar to yours, like your houses, but take the formation of this guy and put it in your chart. And that guy, I've dated him off and on the past few years, and he's really a pretty self-centered person. He's pretty focused on his career. He cares about what people think about him, cares about his reputation, hardworking and attractive in many ways, really smart, which is what I'm seeing in this guy's chart too. but sort of like withholds a big part of himself. And this guy has Saturn in the 5th, conjunct Jupiter, which to me does feel like someone who might hold part of himself back, or, you know, focus on his own truth, and in a relationship that could get old really quickly. So my thoughts are, just going to look at the Davison here. You know, you have a sun moon, it's a trine, not by sign, but by degree. And Mars is also making a trine to the sun. Mars is in Cancer in the Davison at the 23rd degree. That's actually a significant degree, 23rd degree of cardinal signs. That'll be a point of focus. And Mars in Cancer, Mars is not only what are we going to fight about, right? It's the passion of the relationship. It's how you do things together. Within Cancer, it means it's a relationship that is triggered by emotional material. And with it being a moon in Leo, it's going to be triggered more than likely by his emotions and his issues. And because it falls into his 3rd house, it's always going to kind of go back to what does he think? How does he feel, you know, about the relationship? And that it won't, it's lopsided is all. It feels like it's lopsided to me. So, I mean, if you're with this person and you're falling in love with him, then awesome. Every chart, there's a possibility, you can work with anybody. But I'm just saying, I always like to note the things between the two of you that will most likely be problematic, which to me are just basic emotional needs are quite different. So sexually even, I would say, if I'm a Mars in Pisces, I would like someone who maybe had a Venus in Pisces, or like a Mars in Scorpio. I mean, kind of fun. Or like you want to see your Venus being activated, and your Venus in Gemini. You've got his Mars in Aquarius. Let's see. His Mars in Pisces. So your Venus in Gemini is at 5, and he's got his Venus at 16 of Aquarius. So, you know, that's a wide 11 degree trine between your Venuses. I mean, even that's not even enough to really be worth it. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is, both your charts, I think we're all unique butterflies. I think everybody's got beautiful things in their charts. I just not crazy about the synastry between these two charts. So that being said, I also don't ever want to take on the karma of like making the decision for you. You know, you decide for yourself if this rings true for you or not. Maybe I'm off. Maybe this is like the love of your life. But, you know what I'll do? I'm going to look at one last thing. Let's look at the Magi. The Magi Society, you know, they use the Chiron Venus. They found through studies that people who have, excuse me, people who have Chiron Venus connections in their synastry charts, what they've done is they've studied thousands of marital charts between people, and people who have stayed married and people who have gotten divorced, and they found that Chiron Venus connections tend to show up in marriages, like above the percentage you would expect. So I always like to kind of just look. They call it the true love aspect. I don't know that I would go that far. To me, it says it's two people who are willing to work on their relationship together. They're willing to be devoted and dutiful to each other, to try and heal each other, sort of. So your Chiron's at 24 longitudinally, 24 of Aries. So we have a Chiron-Neptune, which is lovely. We have Chiron-Pluto opposition. Chiron-Pluto oppositions can be obsessive connections with people. So we might have like nothing in common with them, but there's a compulsive almost draw to one another with that one. And then let's see in the declinations. Chiron Mars, so that's a great for lifelong, that's a marital sexual aspect, so helps just, you know, over the course of the relationships, it tends to be a good sexual connection. And then from his perspective, his Chiron's at 13 degrees of Taurus. So to your Saturn, see we have a little sextile to your Saturn, which is nice for glue. It helps give longevity to a relationship. His declination's 13, so looks like we've got Chiron Pluto in the other direction as well. You know, I've seen that one. So we don't have Chiron Venus between you guys. Just double check, make sure I'm not missing anything. Really not any, like, hardly any of his Chirons being activated other than Chiron to Neptune and Chiron biquintile Pluto, and a Chiron Saturn sextile. I mean, if you're talking about the one, you will see like your whole row of Chiron kind of inner aspects being hit by the other person, and he doesn't have that. Yours, you have more than him. You've got your Chiron, you know, sextiles his Sun, sextiles his Mercury. You guys probably have good conversation together. Probably great. I think you guys make really good friends. Looking at the other sexual aspects, like, you know, you've got the Mars-Mars conjunction, the 3-degree conjunction, Venus-Mars square by 2 degrees, and it's approaching square. So initially that can be, you know, we can be attracted to each other, but it can end up being an irritation long term. And you've got a Saturn captivation on, or Saturn clash on his Jupiter, as well as his Saturn. Those are tough. Saturn-Saturn squares are tough. It's a 4-degree separating square, but it would still be felt. It just kind of stops things many times. Saturn-Jupiter can just be your boundaries and your personal sort of his beliefs and your personal opinion kind of those beliefs, or what you see as right or wrong, don't jive. They don't jive with each other, so that can be also an irritation. If you have Pluto-Venus, that's one that's great for sex, for like lifelong, for that connection, for that intimacy connection, which I would want to see. So in the declination, he's got a 16-degree Venus, 16-degree Venus. That makes no aspects to any of your declinations. Your Venus is at 22, which makes an aspect to his Neptune. It's a contraparallel in the declinations. So that's where, you know, that definitely can feel kind of dreamy. It's for sure lots of projection happening, and it's going to be from you. You're the Venus, he's the Neptune. There's a quality of what you find attractive. You're going to imagine it in him. You're going to visualize it from this person. It can be fantastic if you have other things in the chart that are also sort of romance connections. But I'm just going to say personally, from my experience, this to me is not like, I wouldn't say that this is like the love of your life. And if you were my sister, I would say, looks cool. I mean, you know, let it play out. I'm not going to tell you not to be with him, but I wouldn't give this like my for sure stamp of approval. You guys also have a Saturn-Jupiter eclipse, basically, because you have Saturn and Jupiter. Let's see, make sure I'm saying this the right way. Oh, maybe it's in the other direction. Okay. No, so his Saturn and your Jupiter oppose each other. Okay, making sure I'm looking at the right things here. Yeah, and his Saturn and your Jupiter also, they not only oppose each other, but they're contraparallel. So that's like, I think that the Magi Society calls that like the clash of the Titans or something. It's a big one. That's like the things that he values, or his truth, his personal truth, and your sort of the part of you that's the parental authority figure that makes the rules, they just clash with each other. So it ended up being you nagging him, basically, and him feeling just not my favorite combo. So you may have already figured this out if you know, it's been a few months. So let me know if you found someone else, if you want me to look at a different chart, if you want me to look at your forecast. I'm happy to take a peek at maybe just your forecast for you in more detail. So yeah, just let me know. Okay, Laura, thanks. Bye-bye.